I'm Sébastien Latouille. I'm regional manager for TSF. I cover different regions, Asia and the Pacific, as well as Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. So a good chunk of the world. And what that means is that I supervise the projects we have in those regions. We have teams on the ground doing the work, and I'm here to give them guidance on strategic or project management level issues. And I also develop partnerships around those projects to help us and help the response in itself being stronger by working together with other organizations where it makes sense. And I'm also part of the response teams that will deploy to disaster affected areas when there is a new disaster to start new projects and to respond to the immediate needs there. So I'm working at the moment on 5 different projects. 2 of them are around the war in Ukraine. So we have teams working on across the border on both sides in Ukraine and in Poland. In Poland, we work with Ukrainian refugees and we try to provide access to information. To do that, we set up TV screens in service centers for refugees. We gather information from the government, from other NGOs, from many different sources. We check the information, put it together, send it to the screens, and there the refugees going to the service centers can just look at the TV and get information on many different needs, administrative, security, education, access to health services, everything that could help them make better informed decisions. On the other side, in Ukraine, we have another team working there, again with displaced people, but this time internally displaced, so people that had to move from areas where there is fighting to safer areas inside Ukraine. And some of these people, usually the most vulnerable, maybe don't have the money to continue the journey outside Ukraine or don't want to. Many of them are staying in accommodation centers set up by the government. And these accommodation centers, some of them have connectivity issues. And so TSF is providing free Wi-Fi in each of those identified centers so people can reconnect to the world, to the internet, to their life. It helps also students connect to remote studies, access many different kinds of services like that. So it's a very important service there. And then I have 2 other projects that are more on the European migration crisis, for which TSF has been responding since 2016, since the beginning. And we work there on 2 different refugee camps. So there are, of course, in the news now we talk a lot about Lampedusa, but there are many other different refugee camps around Europe. And TSF is in Bosnia and Herzegovina and in Lesbos in Greece. And we provide free Wi-Fi in these camps for the migrants to be able to contact their family when they get there, and also do all the administrative procedures that they need to do to register for asylum in Europe. So again, a very important service there. And the last project I'm overseeing now for 2 years is capacity building project that we do related to disaster response. And so we work with regional bodies in charge of humanitarian response in 2 regions, the Caribbean with CDIMA and the ASEAN, the Southeast Asian region. And these 2 bodies are intergovernmental bodies. They are a grouping of different governments working together to respond to disasters. And what we do as TSF is we provide them with equipment and training so they have the capacity to deploy emergency telecoms by themselves. Tsunamis are very rare, and that's a good thing because they are very bad usually. So unfortunately, I wasn't around for the big ones. The one in 2004 in the Indo-Pacific Ocean, that's probably the most well known, and the one in 2011 in Japan, Fukushima. So I just arrived in Asia in 2011 in June, and the tsunami was in January. So I wasn't around for these two big ones. But definitely we see in the region that it's in the collective memory, and people are still sometimes even scared to go to the coastal areas because of that. And we see governments working a lot on early warning systems and evacuation procedures to make sure they can reduce as much as possible the impact of future tsunamis. My personal experience, I've responded to one which was both an earthquake and a tsunami in Indonesia in 2018. And that's where you can really see the devastation that this causes. So this was a relatively small scale tsunami. You could see that the water had penetrated maybe 200 meters inland. But and I have seen many disasters and strong earthquakes and strong typhoons, but with the effect of the tsunami, you really see the difference. Everything was really completely destroyed in these 200 meters. So you can imagine if it's a big one. So very scary. So I've been working with DSF for 15 years now. So many years. And each mission is different. Each project is unique. And so there is different challenges. We work in different environments, new cultures, new teams, people, stakeholders, and so it's always very interesting and creates a lot of memories to work together to respond to a crisis. So it would be difficult to pick one, but what I can do maybe is take you through what happens when we respond to a disaster, typically. Because as you can imagine, so we talked a little bit about the effects of tsunamis, earthquakes, typhoons. Everything is destroyed. It's chaos for the first days. And as TSF, we are really there very quickly in the first 24, 48 hours, sometimes even quicker. And so everything is disrupted. There is no electricity. There is no mobile networks, Wi-Fi, access to internet, obviously. No water. The roads are blocked by fallen trees. Hotels have been flooded or damaged. So it's very difficult conditions. On top of that, you have all the effects that this has on the population. So people have lost everything, their homes, their family, their lives sometimes. And you are there to help these people in these very difficult conditions. So you have to find a way to work in these conditions, but also simply to live in these conditions, right? So sorting out the logistics, where do we find food, where do we sleep, how do we reach the affected population we want to help? These are very serious and very strong questions that we have to sort very quickly and establish a strategy. And of course, and thankfully, we have other actors helping the government, other emergency responders, local authorities, the communities themselves, and all these people working together to overcome these difficulties and be able to reduce the impact of the disaster and respond as fast as we can. And if I was to give some examples, so for me, the first big mission was Haiti in 2010, the earthquake there, where there was damage was really widespread. So we were doing hundreds of calls each day, reconnecting people to their family, and enabling them to be able to call and receive help. So it was a big first mission in very difficult conditions. Again, everything was destroyed. Then we had Haiyan in the Philippines in 2013. Same type of conditions, a very strong typhoon, so everything was disrupted again. And we managed with the team to cover hundreds of kilometers along the coast that had been affected by Haiyan, around Tacloban and Guyana. Very challenging, but we managed to cover most of the need, I think, there. And then there was Vanuatu, which was very challenging as well in 2015, because Vanuatu is many islands, big and small, and we had, we were able to very quickly spread the team around these different islands and reconnect people, these islands to each other, and people to their families across these interesting countries.
Okay. Did you move through helicopter or how
Helicopters,
how did you reach
planes, boats, everything. Yes, yes. So mostly there they use small planes. They have small runways, and it's quite scary to arrive on that. You think it's too short for the plane to land, but they make it. Yeah, yeah. And helicopters, and then small boats to go around the island as well. So, yeah. Well, you know, my job is amazing. Many things. I mean, we've talked about some of the things, but I think really it's the challenges are making the job interesting, right? We have to overcome these difficult odds, and we are there to help the people that are in need, that have been affected by disaster. So these two things put together, it really motivates you to do the best you can. And so that's why I like, and it's working to help people and working together to overcome the difficulties to help these people. Yeah. So we've talked about a little bit the challenges specific to disaster, with the logistics and the overwhelming needs to cover. There are different kinds of challenges at different levels. So these were very operational. We also work in places where it's security is an issue when we go to conflict areas like Ukraine or Iraq. And so it's overcoming these access issues. We also work with technology, which is evolving very quickly. And so both the technology is evolving, but the need is also growing for more better access to internet services that needs always more bandwidth, and that are people depend on these services more and more as well. So on one hand, working with the technology that is available and making the most out of it, and on the other hand, keeping the flexibility to adapt to new technologies and provide better services as the new technology comes in, and to adapt to that. So these two things, it's kind of juggling between the two, because you can't really keep doing what you're doing. You always have to adapt to what's coming. So that's what one of the big challenges specific to TSS. A lot of challenges. So I like the challenges, but why we overcome these challenges is to help people, right? And I don't really like the word helping, because it's a little bit one way. Maybe empowering would be better, but usually we are there to provide the tools for the people who are in distress after a disaster, during a conflict, or migrants, and provide these tools. This internet is a very powerful tool. It's probably the best tool to help people retake more control on their lives, because they have access to so many services. There is the psychological aspects of talking to your family that is far away in a difficult moment. So there is the access to services, online services that will help you register in a new country you arrive in, or get money from the bank to rebuild your life, or access to education, all these things. And so being there to really empower people, give them the tools to get more control on their life during a time where they have to overcome their own difficulties. That's really what motivates me. And I do it in two. I think I have the opportunity at TSF to do it in two ways. So first is just by working for TSF and doing this type of projects and working to help the beneficiaries, but also more inside TSF as a manager, working with the teams that I support in the field and giving them the tools, giving them some guidance to really establish the right strategy and find the ways to again overcome the difficulties and to deliver the service correctly. And that's really, yes, what I'm about, empowering people, the beneficiaries and our own teams. Yeah.